Hello there, good people. Welcome to It's a Shaw Thing. I'm your host, Rob Shaw, here to talk a little fantasy football. We're getting close to the weekend. Time to make some big decisions as far as our lineups go. This segment's called Sit or Start. You get the idea. We'll start at the quarterback position, and I say you start Mark Sanchez of the New York Jets. The rookie quarterback did wonders last weekend at Houston. This time around, he plays at home, but it's against the New England Patriots in a game that's sure to get a lot of attention. I still think he's a great start. You look what the Patriots did last weekend. They allowed 2 touchdowns thrown by Trent Edwards and a very impressive passing performance by him. Sanchez has the ability to do the same, so I think he will. And also, knowing that Patriots offense, if they dictate the tempo, it will be a shootout. Sanchez, one of the better starts this weekend. As far as a guy you want to stay away from, make sure to bench Jake Delhomme. We heard the stats way too often. 7 for 17, 4 interceptions. All was not well in Carolina, so bad that A.J. Feely was signed, and he actually thinks he'll start by the time the season is through. But the bad news gets even worse for Carolina. You look at their matchup this weekend, they're going against Atlanta. Atlanta, by the way, who dominated the offense of Miami last week, and they sacked them 4 times. They had an interception against a usually reliable Chad Pennington. I don't think Delhomme has a chance in this one. All right, next up, we move on to the running back position. As far as a guy who I think you have to start, Ray Rice. He has been promoted. The second-year star has been very good so far this year. He ran for 108 yards on 19 carries the other day. By the way, 19 carries, more than any of those other backs in that crowded backfield. So he's the main guy there. You look at who they're playing against this weekend. It's San Diego, the same Chargers defense that just allowed 148 rushing yards to the Oakland Raiders. I think there's a good chance Ray Rice might put on a nice show here. I'm thinking 80-plus yards. He's a guy you want to start. As far as someone you want to bench, also a second-year player, I think he has a great future ahead of him, but this is not the weekend to start Kevin Smith. First of all, he struggled last weekend, though he did have a couple of receiving yards, had a touchdown as well, but he only went 15 carries for 20 yards. That's simply not acceptable, and it goes from bad to worse for him as they play against the Big Four up front of the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. I don't expect much offense at all. Remember, they scored 20-something points last weekend against the Saints in a shootout. Minnesota won't be challenging them to a shootout. They'll control the tempo. They'll keep it low scoring. I think the Lions will be lucky if they score more than 10 points. All right, next up, as far as running back to, or rather a wide receiver now who you want to start, Nate Burleson of the Seattle Seahawks. I think this guy is a sleeper. Had a good start to last year before getting injured in that game in the third quarter, out for the season. This time around, actually started slow with the fumble, but after that ended up with 7 receptions for 70-plus yards, scored a touchdown. This weekend, he's playing against San Francisco. Now, the 49ers defense isn't all that bad, but there certainly is some room to pass the ball. Matt Hasselbeck looked very healthy. I know Nate Burleson's number 2 guy to TJ Houshmandzadeh, but I still think Burleson's a guy that's going to get you 60-plus yards every single week. I'm thinking he's going to end up with 1,100 receiving yards by the time this is all through with 10-plus touchdowns. So go ahead, pick him up if you don't have him, and start Burleson as soon as this weekend. As far as a wide receiver you want to avoid, talking about pickups, everyone's jumping on the waiver wire for Devery Henderson of the New Orleans Saints. This guy is the biggest fantasy tease that there is. He always puts up big numbers only to disappoint. You look at all the Saints wide receivers. You've got Reggie Bush in the backfield. You could throw to him. You could throw to Meacham. You could throw to Lance Moore, Jeremy Shockey, Marcus Colston. Need I say more? There's so many different weapons. It's going to be hard for any of them to be consistent. If I had to pick and choose, I think it's going to be Colston and Moore who will be the most consistent considering their past. As far as Henderson, he's disappointed us too many times. Avoid him this weekend. Well, my friends, that's all your fantasy sports analysis for now. Meet us right back here at opensports.com. We've got plenty of other bloggers, plenty of other videos, and tomorrow we'll get you prepared for this weekend.